It's time to put the spotlight on the ladies to find the best of the best from the past 20 years. Welcome back to Blue Ridge 11's newest show, 11 of the last 20. I'm your host, Chad Landers. Thanks for tuning in once again to our countdown. Let's get started. Today, we're hitting the hard court to refresh your memory on all the great girls basketball players in our coverage area who have come through the LL League since the year 2000. So let's toss the ball up and see who's making the list.
Well, I'm glad you asked me that question.
There's the people that play not to lose, and there's the people that play to win. And when I think of the best basketball players I've seen, they expected to win when they stepped on the court. There was no, oh, this is a good team. They were confident in themselves, and they knew that if they did what they were capable of doing, they were going to win that day.
Zern, long range three, she hits it! Amanda Zern, dead on.
I think a player is someone who is a team leader, someone who can get the respect of all their teammates, somebody who has a great work ethic.
That time, Jess quicker to the ball, and it paid off in points.
In girls basketball, first and foremost, if you're able to handle the ball, you're a step ahead of everybody else.
Kelly Liebel taking it to the hoop.
You see the way she changed hands?
That is so key in girls basketball because defenses really like to ramp it up. And I think defense sometimes gets ahead of the offense as far as the strategy.
Nice fake, Obley, gee whiz.
But if you got somebody that can handle the ball well, that's a step in the right direction.
I think high school athletes have to be willing to take some criticism. They certainly got to work hard. Everybody gets better in the season. So you got to be hardworking. You got to be able to take criticism.
To me, the most important thing is character. I think when you have the players who have tremendous character, it just really takes over on the basketball court. I know all the years I coached, I'd rather have 5 players with great character than 5 characters on my basketball team.
Number 11, Manheim Central's all-around great athlete, Becca Rowland.
Becca was an inside presence that, I'd say, from 10 and 15 feet in, she was deadly.
That was a nice spin move by Rebecca Rowland.
She was the enforcer, power kind of kid for the Barons. Could get in the key, could get in the lane, could block shots, use her elbows a little bit, lower the shoulder, get to the glass.
Becca Rowland was a key player for Manheim Central because she was a taller girl, good inside force, passed the ball well, just a really well-rounded ball player.
She was a player who was really good in the paint. She became a really good passer when the double teams came.
Nice pass through the paint.
Offensive rebounder, power game, could lower the shoulder, could get in the key, score off the bounce, score on stick backs.
There is Rowland with a strong putback.
And she was on some Manheim Central teams that were going through a period of winning section titles and making playoff runs, and she was a big part of that.
By the time Becca was a senior, it seemed like they would go through her. She'd be a kid where it was like a mandatory touch, regardless of score or situation or spot in the game. Every trip, make sure Becca gets a touch, one way or another. Power kid. I'll always remember that about her game, just how she could lower her shoulder and really get on the baseline and make plays around the rim.
Number 10, Ephrata's two-sport athlete, Marcy Dahl.
Marcy Dahl was just an all-around great basketball player. She could do it all. I remember her just being able to slash and get to the hoop whenever she wanted.
Marcy Dahl starting to take charge now for Ephrata.
Defensively, she was a great leader. Just an all-around great player.
Powerful player, not a center, but probably a power forward type. Really good at getting to the glass, rebounding. I remember she could do that dribble stop where she could dribble, use her shoulder, get her man in the air, get to the glass, draw fouls, score on the baseline, score on the blocks.
Marcy was a great outside shooter, but at the same time, she took what the defense would give her. So if they backed off, she'd hit the outside shot. If they played up close, she would get that first step. She loved that dribble drive.
Drive, steps, scores, and there's a thousand.
And I think if you're a basketball coach, you got to love the girl that will mix it up, that will either drive to the basket or hit that outside shot.
Unfortunately, I never had the pleasure to coach, but what a great individual. And she would come in and play against some of our kids. Tough individual, tremendous skill set. had a tremendous left hand. I mean, Marcy could score. If she posted you up, you were pretty much in trouble.
She created so many of her shots with great footwork inside, down low on the post, and very athletic. I mean, if you talk about Marcy Dahl, you can't talk about it without talking about her athleticism.
Her footwork was fantastic. She played Division I field hockey at Ohio. She wasn't the biggest girl, but she could get to wherever she wanted to go.
Let's face it, she was outsized, but you know what? She didn't mind that. She would go down and she would bang with the taller girls and fight for her position, and she, again, get points any way you could.
Number 9, Calico girls' third all-time leading scorer, Emily White.
Emily could do everything on the basketball court. For a girl who was close to 6 feet, she could handle and play point guard. She could play center. She could play forward. She could rebound. She could pass.
Emily White was a kind of like a jack of all trades. She could do a little bit of everything.
Physical kid. I'll remember her dribble drive ability and how she could take a pass on the wing. And she always had a move, little deke move. She'd get her man going the other way, and she had the quicks to get past her defender and get in the lane.
As a freshman, started for Calico. She was a player who you could see even before 9th grade was going to be very, very good. And when she came in and started for Tony as a freshman, she certainly elevated that program.
Maybe she would have been a sophomore year at Ephrata. Big game against Ephrata. We were down 1 late. I remember we drew up a play for Natalie Sukanik. Ephrata double teamed her, found Emily wide open.
Or you get a wide open lane and score it by Emily White to regain the lead for Calico.
Emily hit the big layup right at the end at the buzzer to win the game for us. So, yeah, that was one that stuck with me.
A great team leader, very unselfish ball player. She'd move the ball around well, but she'd still get her 20 points. So she was very selective, and she knew when to step up and take charge.
She was a tough matchup because if you had a smaller guard to try and guard her, it presented a major problem because she could post you up and she could also score from the outside.
White for 3. Yes! Ties the game.
She just had a great awareness about her and was extremely competitive.
I'll always remember her as a lower-the-shoulder kind of kid, a terrific dribble drive kid who could get fouls, get to the line. She had a really good power game.
Number 8, Ephrata's three-point specialist, Caroline Stafford.
Carolyn, she's like a sharpshooter. One of the best shooters I've ever seen, come through our area. Couldn't give her any ground. I know every time we played, we had to have a game plan to make her put the ball on the floor and give it up.
Caroline Stafford will launch the 3, and she'll knock it down.
Because if you left her open, she was deadly.
Jitterbug kind of a kid. Loved her handle and how she could handle between the legs, around the back.
And here comes Caroline Stafford.
And free herself up for shots.
Caroline started for me as a freshman, ended up being a 1,000-point scorer, was just an all-around outstanding player.
Finally gets the career achievement at 1,000 points.
Just a real good scorer. Could hit a 3, but could also put the ball on the floor as well, get to the foul line, and also made her teammates better as well.
She had unlimited range. She could get to the basket. She was just a scorer. When she got hot, that's when she could really light it up.
Tenacious. If you remember, she also played football, and I think she kind of brought that football mentality to her. Girl that just went 100 miles an hour all the time.
She worked really, really hard off the ball as well as with the ball. She was always the focus.
There is another shot from Stafford, drains it.
So you always had to pay attention to her and always have at least 2 or 3 people ready to defend her.
Cat quick, understood the game. Again, she was one of those players who knew how to use her body.
This is an excellent drive, and instead of throwing something up, she jumps, gets a good angle, and is able to use the backboard.
Could get to the rim, hang, and I really, really liked her perimeter game and just the way she could shoot it.
She was extremely tough, and she was the kind of person who never would take herself out of a basketball game, no matter what may have transpired. She had numerous injuries and overcame all of those, and even as a junior, the year that we won, she had things she had to deal with. So just a tough kid, and a joy to coach.
The countdown is just getting underway. After the break, we'll look back at the stars on the hard court from number 7 through number 4. It's all coming up next on 11 of the last 20.